Decoding Rahul Gandhi's volcanic speech. A warm welcome to everyone. In a video posted last night introducing the series of videos that aim at analyzing the contents and strategies in this most unforgettable speech by Rahul Gandhi as the leader of the opposition, responding to the address by the Honorable President of India to the joint session of the Parliament. I announced my intention to do a series of videos so that we get a good enough idea about the power and significance of this matchless speech. Now, in this video, what I propose to do is not really to say anything specific on the items or the ingredients of that speech, but to place before my viewers 3 or 4 basic broad ideas or concepts or themes that are fundamental to the speech by Rahul Gandhi. Understanding these 4 themes or concepts will enable everyone to undertake their own analysis, their own appreciation of the speech by Rahul. So, my attempt in this video is to provide to my viewers the tools of thought necessary to analyze Rahul's speech and to arrive at your own assessment, your own evaluation of its significance, its impactfulness, and its long-term resonance. So, what are those 3 or 4 ideas? The very first thing, and this is where hats off to Rahul, he begins not exactly in the first sentence or the first 2 sentences, but fairly at the beginning with a reference to the Honorable Prime Minister's claim to be of divine substance. He disclaimed any biological origin and claimed to be a man of God sent with a specific mission from God or the gods concerning India. Now he makes a reference to that and then goes on to say a lot of things about it, sometimes using the literary device of sarcasm, sometimes using chiseled factual criticism. But what I want to point out here is that the purpose in referring to or reminding everyone present in the Lok Sabha at that time of the claim that the Honorable Prime Minister made not long ago was a very important one. And that was to strike a significant contrast between him and Sri Narendra Modi. And let me explain that. Now, this is where my viewers must develop a healthy respect for Sri Rahul Gandhi as a man of wide reading. People don't realize how well read he is, how rich in concepts, how profound in his nuances Rahul Gandhi can be, as indeed he was on this occasion. Now, in order to give you a taste of that, let me take up this one reference, this one idea, or this one contrast that he so deliberately introduced fairly at the beginning of his speech today. Now, he strikes a contrast between Sri Narendra Modi as per his own claim, and he emphasizes Sri Narendra Modi said so, he claimed so, he said so, etc., etc. So, he's taking Sri Narendra Modi on the grounds provided by Sri Modi himself, which fair enough. In public, if a person has made a claim and the claim is made in public, it's aired to every person in the country, anyone in the public has thereby the right to criticize it, to analyze it, and to make his opinion known about it. So Rahul Gandhi was on absolutely solid grounds, impeccable grounds in picking up this claim advanced by Sri Narendra Modi. Now, a very brief statement about why Sri Narendra Modi made that statement. Please understand the sequence. Contrary to the settled practice in the Hindu community, the Pratishtha in the Ram temple at Ayodhya was consecrated by the Prime Minister and not by a religious functionary who has the accreditation for that purpose. Now, when a Prime Minister presides over the Pran Pratishtha of a deity or a god, then the next step is to develop this idea that if I can infuse my pran, my spirit into the idol, thereby making the idol a living reality in the experience of the devotees, the worshippers, then there must be a divine element in us, and maybe I am God or I am of God. Now, Rahul Gandhi could see this claim in a particular perspective because, and that's not obvious on the surface, that's why I need to mention this as an academic. Rahul is aware of a very significant book by Carlyle titled On Heroes and Hero Worship. Please read that book. It's readily available to you from the net. You don't have to spend a single rupee. Just download and read the book in the digital form. Now, in that book, Carlyle makes a very significant, very fascinating distinction. He makes a distinction between human beings who, under certain influences and in certain circumstances, succumb to the delusion of being gods or being a god on the one hand, and on the other hand, individuals who feel that there is the divine element in them which is driving them forward to do something which is beyond their personal interest. I hope the distinction is clear. This is this distinction made by Carlyle in the book I have already cited, namely On Heroes and Hero Worship. What's the distinction that Carlyle makes there? The distinction is between, on the one hand, as Modi did, on the one hand, an individual claiming himself to be God, and as I said on a previous occasion, a claim which is then buttressed and inflated by Sambit Patra that even Lord Jagannath is only an admirer of Sri Narendra Modi. So, the claim to divinity on the part of an individual, part of a man, is very firmly established in the public imagination, the imagination of the people. So, that's the one thing. In contrast to that, here is Rahul, who senses that something of the divine nature, something of the divine purpose is at work in his personal life, in his personal and public life. He has no claims to divinity. He does not say that he is not of biological origin. He does not say that he is supernatural in his person. He only says that he senses that there is a tremendous mission to be undertaken, and that mission is godly. As against a man becoming God, there is a mission that is godly, and here is an individual who feels called to offer himself unconditionally to the realization and the fulfillment of that tremendous and historical mission. And here I must add that in saying so, or in implying this contrast, Rahul Gandhi was taking his audience, all the members of the parliament, back to 1937, when the Mahatma Gandhi, in an article published in the Harijan, 1937, said as follows, he wrote as follows about himself. He said, "I am nothing but an instrument in the hand of God to lead the people of India to freedom." Now, unlike Sri Narendra Modi, the Mahatma did not make the claim that he was God. He did not deny his biological birth. He did not claim that he has come from God. He only says that he is an instrument in the hand of God to lead India to freedom, the people of India to freedom. That's precisely what Rahul Gandhi claims for himself. He is implying that, like in the case of Mahatma Gandhi, who had to spearhead India's freedom movement to shake off the shackles of British domination, he in his time has to undertake a second liberation movement to liberate the people of India from another form of colonialism or imperialism, this time, unfortunately, imperialism by one's own members of one's own society, one's own country. So it's a very significant contrast, and understanding this contrast, I hope I have succeeded in making that contrast somewhat real and meaningful. That understanding this contrast in its implications, in its truth, in its true spirit, is vitally important to understand why Sri Rahul Gandhi said whatever he said in this tremendous speech. So please understand that the original concept is not Rahul Gandhi's, it is Carlyle's, and you can read it in the book on heroes and hero worship, where Carlyle makes a distinction between a human being who gives himself the delusion of being a god on the one hand, and a human being who feels that he is called upon to play a part in a divine mission which needs to be undertaken in the present context, where certain qualities of character and conviction become supremely important. What those things are, I will not mention now, because in this video, I am confining myself only to the concepts and not to their thematic variations or elaborations. The second thing that we need to understand before we enter into the analysis of the details of its ingredients, the ingredients of the speech, is the very astute introduction of Lord Shiva. And there, it's obvious that it's deliberate, because Rahul Gandhi came armed and equipped with a portrait of the Lord Shiva. Now, why did he do so? Quite obviously, Rahul Gandhi was trying to revive something which has been deliberately eclipsed or occluded or pushed out of public consciousness, in the interest of projecting Lord Ram as the God of India, God of the new India, of Ramarajya. Please understand, Ramarajya. Hindu Rashtra as Ramarajya. Gandhiji also spoke about Ramarajya, but he said, my Ram is not the son of Dasharath. My Lord Ram is the embodiment of righteousness. It's an idea, an ideal, which is universally valid. It is not subject to any division of religion, caste, etc., etc. It's a pure idea of righteousness, which he says is, and quite rightly so, his view can be accepted by anyone, irrespective of which religion you practice. As a Christian, I find it very easy and very exhilarating to accept Gandhi's views, Gandhi's idea of Lord Ram as the embodiment of righteousness, not as a historical personage, the son of Dasharath. So, now why did the Sangh Parivar project Ram as the sole god of this emerging India? It's because of a theory that was imbibed from Europe of the last century, the end of the 19th century and first half of the 20th century, a theory that led to an infinite series of conflicts in Europe, Eurocentric conflicts. And what was that theory? The theory was that polytheism, that is belief in many gods, will keep a society divided forever. Unifying the Hindu community is impossible so long as there are many gods and people owe allegiance to their Ishta Devadas, and there are too many of them. So religion therefore becomes a tool or the means by which the Hindu community is kept fragmented. And this is something that Veer Savarkar states very explicitly in his book Hindutva. And he says, therefore, there is a need to shift our focus from religion to culture. That's how he comes up with the idea of cultural nationalism. So, from Bir Savarkar, from L.K. Advani's time onwards, there is a shift. The shift is not, the shift is to go back to the original idea of religion. Culture is not enough. Religion is important because the deepest emotions of a human being are stirred up by religion. But at the same time, Hinduism has this inherent problem because it is polytheistic, it tends to keep people fragmented. So what is the way out? The way out is to rehash Hinduism virtually as a monotheistic religion. Monotheism means only one God. Let all the many gods be there, the 330 million gods and goddesses, fine. But there must be one principal God who is nationally acclaimed and paid obeisance to. And in the last 30-40 years, the Sangh Parivar has been doing everything possible to bring Lord Ram into the limelight. But when that happens, there is a problem. The problem is, what about the others who have their Ishtadevatas? Now in India, the two principal religious groups among Hindus are those who worship Vishnu and those who worship Shiva. Now, Lord Ram is the seventh avatar of Vishnu. Please understand this. Lord Ram is believed and revered by the Hindus as the seventh avatar of Lord Vishnu. So, this political ideology, which is driven by the expediency of having to forge pan-Indian Hindu unity, for which Hinduism focused on one God, namely Lord Ram, needs to be foisted on the Hindu society as a whole. That idea being pursued vigorously and for all practical purposes very successfully by the Sangh Parivar with BJP as its political wing on the one hand, and Rahul Gandhi on the other hand, introducing another aspect of Hinduism, another chunk of Hinduism. What about Lord Shiva, the Shaivites, who are ardent worshippers of Shiva? Now, I am not an expert on Hinduism, but what little I know of the Hindu society in terms of its religious spread, the spectrum of religious loyalties to various gods, I know this for a fact, that there is no love lost between the devotees of Lord Vishnu and the devotees of Lord Shiva. So, Rahul Gandhi was extremely astute in introducing, and not just verbally, but visually, a picture of Lord Shiva. And I was watching the impact of that picture on everybody. People felt as though they've got a blow on their face. And Rahul Gandhi picks on it. He says, addressing the speaker, he says, "Speaker, sir, is it a crime? Is it a wrong thing to show the picture of Lord Shiva in the Parliament of India? Are you saying that this is an unpardonable thing? Is it an unparliamentary thing? Are you saying that?" He's rubbing it down. So what he's trying to do is, he is very cleverly, very astutely critiquing, challenging, interrogating the entire project of the Sangh Parivar to create a de facto monotheistic religion out of a polytheistic Hindu religion, wherein Lord Ram would be the preeminent god, like Zeus in the Greek pantheon. There are other gods, but Zeus is paramount. So while you're free to have your gods in your temples and your homes, etc., nationally you must pay obeisance to only one god, and that god will be Lord Ram. And Lord Ram is the seventh avatar of Vishnu. So here is a political agenda that advantages the devotees of Lord Vishnu and disadvantages the devotees of Lord Shiva. And in South India, it is the Shaivite cult that's far more popular and powerful, both in terms of religion and art, whether it is dance, music, and visual arts. It's a Shaivite religion that's most popular and powerful. So there are tremendous religious, historical, cultural, regional, sectarian nuances at play here. I can't do justice to the full gamut of its ramifications. I leave it to my Hindu brothers and sisters who are far more competent than me to unpack this. So that's the second important idea I thought I would flag. The third is a very, very careful but extremely astute reference he made to fear. Fear. No one can deny the fact that the fear factor, the fear quotient, has exponentially increased in India in the last 10 years. Fear became the major means by which the affairs of the country were managed and controlled, including the politicians in various parties, and that's where investigating agencies like ED, CBI, etc., played a stellar role to the great profit of BJP. So he picks on fear. And then he connects fear to religion and then points out that every religion says, Daro mat, daro mat, daro mat, daro mat. So now look at the amazing complexity. I'm astonished at this. He picks on a psychological factor, namely fear, a psychological weapon used effectively by the political masters to the detriment of the people, then rubs it against the touchstone of religion and says that every religion that we know in this world tries to liberate people from the tyranny of fear, from the oppressive yoke of fear, whereas you people are trying to impose this yoke of fear on the people of India. And there he makes a reference to practically every religion, with special emphasis on Sikhism, Islam, Sikhism, Jainism, Buddhism, Christianity, everything. That's an extremely, extremely astute thing to do. And as we get into the text of his speech and begin to analyze, we'll have opportunity to see more and more of its nuances and its amazing implications. So, finally, he also uses the idea of unity. He raises the idea of unity and he interrogates him. The Sangh Parivar idea of unity is homogeneity, which makes them intolerant towards anyone who is different to them. Whereas the idea of unity that Gandhiji espoused, the idea of unity that the Congress party inherited and perhaps lost sight of, and the idea of unity that this young man today wants to revive and restore to national consciousness is the idea of unity in diversity. Now, how all these things are woven together in the context of this speech is an amazing thing to analyze and to appreciate. And no one actually expected Rahul Gandhi to come up with, if you like, an atom bomb of this kind. Therefore, as I said in the previous introductory video, I felt that the Treasury benches were completely taken aback. They were in no position to counter it. They made lots of noises, all right, but there was a total imbalance, asymmetry. Rahul Gandhi carried the day. He has proved his mettle beyond any doubt. Anyone who has seen or heard that speech today will come to the conclusion that here is a force to reckon with, and that all that was said about him in the last 10-15 years was rank nonsense, utter falsehood, and all that is going to boomerang on the people who spread the falsehood about him. The more people begin to appreciate the profundity, the depth, the complexity, the academic resonance of his thinking, his ideas, his insights, and above all his courage. Above all his courage. By the way, in the book that I refer to, Carlyle gives 3 or 4 important facets of a leader. If you were to analyze the profile of a leader according to Carlyle's view, there are the following ingredients. First of all, he says a leader must have courage. Actually, the first quality he mentions is in the sequence in which he mentions is sincerity. A leader must be sincere. In other words, there should be no deviousness or dishonesty in him, and therefore a true leader should be very careful about the verity, about the truthfulness of what he says. A person who resorts to falsehood, even in times of dire desperation, loses the quality of being a leader. The second quality that he points out is valor. Valor means courage. The word he uses is valor, courage. And today Rahul Gandhi showed valor, courage as nobody else can in this country under the existing circumstances. There is none like him, absolutely none like him. And he also goes on to narrate some of the difficulties that he was put to, and all of that later on in the succeeding videos. The third quality that Carlyle identifies in connection with the image of a hero or a leader is intellectuality. And there, interestingly, Carlyle makes a very important, very contextually relevant distinction. He says the intellect that I refer to is not the vulpine cunningness of a man. Vulpine is the adjective of fox. Fox-like cunningness. The vulpine cunningness, the low intellect of a man who can resort to any method which seems very clever and effective in the given context, but which actually shows humanity in a poor, his own humanity in a poor light. This is what Carlyle is saying. It's not my view. He says the intellectuality, the power of the intellect that I have in mind is not the vulpine cunningness of a man who can stoop to any level to attain his goal. What I have in mind is the ability to understand the realities in an inspired manner and the courage to hold on to it. So, all of those associations, I have to say that my memory of Carlyle is not particularly clear, but the 3 attributes I have now shared with you are perfectly there, there is no question about it. He says much more on each of these counts, and therefore I request you to read the original text because they are beautiful ideas. So therefore, through all of these 3 or 4 ideas that I have shared with you in the introductory conceptual analysis of the speech, Rahul Gandhi has also instituted, and that's the 5th point I want to make, a contrast between 2 types of leaders. The leader that Carlyle would consider to be a genuine hero, and the leader whom Carlyle would reject as a valid model of leadership, even if that model seems to be successful for a while. But he says history will come and wipe away. Please remember this. Carlyle says history will come and wipe away every advantage gained by this low vulpine cunningness of the false kind of leader. Rahul has all of this playing in the back of his mind in making this speech today. It's amazing, it's amazing, it's amazing. As an academic, I find it very exciting to look into these aspects. And I'm sure that you too will get a feel of all this. And if you were to see that speech a second time, then you will enjoy it all the more. But more of the specific analysis of the text of his speech in the following videos. Thank you for your participation in the series. It's good for us to be able to understand whatever is happening right in front of us in the proper light. Of course, there will be people who feel deeply aggrieved that we do so because it is not to their advantage, or it may be to their discomfiture, which we can't help, because after all, there's a reality. The reality is served to us on a platter. We have not created it. We are simply responding to a situation that has been created for us and projected before us through the media, and therefore we have every right to undertake our own analysis and come to our own conclusions. So thank you, and see you again pretty soon.